Welcome everyone. This is Mr. Mars here, back with another video. Just want a very quick video here just to show how I design my knives. I use a program called Autosketch. Been using it for years, probably a better one out there. But it's the one I'm using and I'm gonna keep using it. So if you're interested in this, keep watching. So straight in here you can see what I actually do is start by creating the curve back of the spine. It's pretty much what I use on all of my knives, is a curve back on the spine, drop point. I think they look great. I start by using this circle tool, and I'm always create a diameter of 2000 millimeters, which I've just set, and it looks like it's disappeared, but it's actually gone way outside the printable area of the page. So go and get it and put it back on the page and sort of muck about centering it up. So it's a program that's been around for a long time. This is I think Autosketch 9, but it's up to whatever 12 or something by now. And there's one connected to it called Fusion 360. I don't use any of that, which is a 3D one apparently, but I don't use that. But you can see here I'm drawing a straight line. It'll make sense in a minute, but I'm drawing this straight line because it gives me the ability to create the length that I want. I always start with 220 millimeters from tip to butt, and the straight line enables me to create the width of the blade as well, the height as it is on the screen here. And you can see me now using a trim tool to just trim the rest of the circle off that I don't need. So these lines on both ends also enable me to trim the exact length of the blade and the handle, butt to tip. And you'll see me in a sec. I just use an offset tool, which I'm pretty sure I made to 35 millimeters, and by offering it up right next to the straight line above, it will offset another line at exact width that I'm after. I also use the tool and I set just a random size here, just so that I can so in this case it's 200 millimeters. I key in 100 mil because what it does, it's 100 mil from center to so the radius is 100 mil, so what it gives me is a diameter of 200. So you can see here I'm just lining it up on that bottom line and on the top tip. Once I've done that, I can use the trim tool once again and trim it off. I've actually slowed this down, this film, because when you do it in real time it's too fast to narrate and explain what I'm doing here. So in some cases it's a bit of a slow process explaining what happens in this video. But here, if you double click on the line, you can just move the ends of this curved line to exactly where I need it. That's about right. So zoom out, have a bit of a look. It's looking okay so far. Now once again using the offset tool to set the center of the knife, and what this does, I always do this at least to begin with. So I've obviously offset that 110 mil, exactly half of the total length I should say, and I'm trimming it down to the bottom line as well. So the knife starts to take shape by the way it looks. There are many ways, there are many tools you can use to do the same thing with this thing, so with this program. In some cases you can use a corner trim, you can trim to both corners, and sometimes it just won't work because things aren't lined up. So in this case I'm literally doing it, I'm just doing it by hand. And to get it accurate, I'm just zooming in here. There we go, with that sort of tidied up, and zoom back out, starting to take shape. Bringing the butt down because I'll need to define that. Trimming it to the top there. Now I figure it's time I can get rid of the horizontal line and the end lines for the reference lines I used before. I always use the same principle when I start drawing my knives, and here I'm offsetting to the ricasso there where the choil is going to be, so it's 5mm from the front edge of the handle scales, and I'm doing a choil here which I think I've set at 8mm diameter. It's either 8 or 10, I can't quite remember, can't quite see as I'm narrating this. And I've lined the right hand edge up with that 5mm line and setting it right in the middle. So you can see here that I just literally trim it, so I end up with this choil, exactly as you can see it. So I'll get rid of that 5mm line now, and now I'll trim to the bottom of that choil, that open choil. There's a corner trim tool here which allows me to do it in this particular case, so which is pretty good. Now what I've also done, jumped a little bit there, but what I've actually done is use the circle tool, as you might imagine, and I always, with the underside of the handle there, I sometimes have a double finger grooves, a larger one and a smaller one for the front finger, the index finger, and I'll always use, if I've used a 2000mm diameter for the top spine, I'll always use half of that for the underside of the handle grip where the scales are. But here I've just chose to freehand finish the end of the butt. So what I'm doing also is copying that horizontal line over so that I can actually trim that diagonal line to that line, so I know that that's literally level, that the bottom of that angled line and where the choil is there is level. So now I'm just moving that circle up and lining it up on both sides, and once again I'll trim that. Double click gives me the trim, and then delete the excess and trim with the corner trim to the ricasso and the back end of that diagonal. So there you have that. So you're almost there now. All I need to do now is put a couple of use the circle tool, and I'll put 2 holes where I sort of think the pins are going to go. Sometimes I'll put a lanyard hole with the pin actually a bit further in, but in this case I'm not going to use a lanyard hole. So I'm just using 2 6mm holes, and I can just literally copy that one over and put it, I just eye it up, whatever looks good by eye is usually good enough. And the beauty of this is once you've done what you need to do, you can copy the whole thing over. trouble there, a bit glitchy on the screen, but just move it up a little bit, and then I can just literally copy the whole thing down as many times as I like. In this case I'm just going to put 3 on the page, and then I will print those. So there you go. I might muck about with it. I might put a curve on the front of the scales there, change the size of the choil and move it around, move the pins, put a lanyard in it. I might muck around with the shape of the blade itself. There's a whole manner of things you could do once you got this far. So what else can I tell you, really? Not a lot. It's just as I say, a very quick video and just show you what I do. And the beauty of it as well is you could keep these on file and keep designing when you have any spare time, and just look through them when you need some inspiration to make another knife. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one.